Good day, fashion friends. Today, I'm going to take on another AI challenge. So the story starts back in fall. I had a lady contact me after I did a fall market and wanted me to make her a pair of AI pants. She sent me this picture. And I said, well, I can come close, but I can't make them exact because that's AI. And there's some things in the picture that don't make sense and can't really be produced in real life. And she was fine with that. However, at this point, I have decided not to take that commission, but I still wanted to take on the challenge of making those pants. And that's what we are going to do in this tutorial. Stay tuned. All right, the first thing that I want to show is the pair of pants that I found at the thrift store. So if you look at the picture, and you've probably seen this image on Pinterest or in Facebook feeds or whatever, advertising this AI clothing, especially like AI pants like this. I have watched many videos where people have ordered AI clothing, and it is definitely not as pictured, for sure. They always look very full and flowy and wispy and beautiful and three-dimensional and layered, and yeah, no, that's not how they turn out at all. A lot of it is just printed. They take a picture of the item and somehow they blow it up and they print it on white polyester fabric, and then they make the item, or they make the item first and then print it. I don't know what they do, but it's crap. It is AI slop, and creators hate it. We are not about that life. So I'm going to take on the challenge of making these AI pants. So the first thing that I decided I needed to do was go to the thrift store, and I needed basically some elastic, I like to call these, no offense to anybody, but grandma pants. These are a textured cotton, as you can see, and they have pockets. So that's a good thing. So these are the pants that I'm going to use for this particular project, but I want to show you what else I picked up for future projects, because who doesn't love a thrift haul? So I picked up this cute one-piece jumpsuit, and I think it goes this way. So it also has pockets, it has a nice wide leg, and a little cap sleeve, so that's going to be a fun project. I picked up this embroidered dress, and yes, it is a small, so there's really not much I can do with it, but my goodness, look at that embroidered three-dimensional goodness. And I actually have a material that kind of goes with this. Here it is. I can't remember if I showed this in another haul video. I don't think so, but I mean, come on. I'm gonna have some fun with this. I also picked up this sage tablecloth because ruffle, it's already ruffled. Another pair of blue, they're a little darker blue than the first pair, of the grandma pants. Also can be used to make some fun pants. I picked up this dress, and I don't know if I'm going to regret this or not, but I loved this pattern on this dress, and it's just very silky, very flowy. I couldn't resist this gorgeous fabric, and there is very much a decent amount of fabric. Okay, now that you've seen my most recent haul, and did I need any more fabric or things to upcycle? No, I did not. However, for this particular challenge, I did need a specific pair of base pants. And now we are going to get started. Okay, other things that I dug out for this project. I retrieved this dress out of the bins, and I love the ombre lace. However, for this project, underneath is this crinkly kind of gauzy material, and yes, it is a little darker than what's in the picture, but that's okay, because what's the rule here? We use what we have on hand. Most likely I'm going to use this brown ish that's in the center. Now, looking at the bottom of the image, we also see a crochet area. So I have this giant crochet tablecloth. So I'm going to be using a piece of this, and I dug through. So if we look on the bottom, not quite sure what that material is. It again looks like white gauzy material that I do not have on hand. I have plain white material, but I don't think it's going to give the same effect at the bottom. But what I did find is I have a whole bin of eyelet lace in various patterns and sizes. One of the problems with this piece, if you notice, there are some uneven spots. And if you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you know I'm a perfectionist. Everything has to be kind of straight and even, or, you know, asymmetrical. It still has to be even. I just can't Frankenstein stuff together and be acceptable with that. So that is the big challenge with me on this project, is you can see there's uneven spots and kind of like rough looking areas of this piece. So it's going to be a moral internal challenge maybe for me to do things unevenly, but I'm going to give it my best shot and we'll see what happens. So let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do, because this is the easiest step, is to cut off this internal peach and tan or peach and brown ombre fabric. Just isolating this because I don't think I'm going to need all of this fabric. So I'm just going to cut this off at the top, cut the bottom off, and use just the tan. So that's my first step. Okay, I have the brown piece separated, and it was, because it's an ombre-ish design, I literally cut it uneven. I followed the brown and just cut off the peach. So maybe this will help me do my uneven Frankenstein kind of look. But I think I should have enough for the two legs. At least I hope I do. If not, then I'll have to find something else to put on the back, and then it's not going to match. So yeah, you know. So hopefully I can cut this in half and this will be wide enough for a leg. So that's my first concern, is do I have enough fabric? Okay, again, keeping in mind that this is AI, the pictures are usually out of proportion. So I held these up to me, and we want to start with the gauzy material just above the knees. I have determined I am going to cut off about 18 inches because that will allow me about 6 to 8 inches of the gauzy material. So let's see how this is gonna work. How wide is our gauzy material? It is 11. So I'm going to have plenty of that. We don't want to put too much of that because we want all this big crochet lace, flare, that's the word, on the bottom. So if I cut off about 8 inches, that is going to be about that much. Maybe we should do about 7, and then we'll have this much left, which will be the crochet. Not sure yet. Let me double check and see how much of each I want to use. So if we do 7 inches of the tan, and then we do the white. These pants fit me perfectly, but I am 5'2". But we don't want them to drag. So it's always tough to know how to make them. But if I use the bottom of this as my edge, because it has a nice little scalloped edge, so that's what I will use. And then, and it's got about 3 rows of lacy stuff, give or take. On one leg it looks like 3 rows, the other leg it looks like 2 with an opening. Because it's AI. It's not real. It doesn't make sense. So if I do, we want a little bit of that to show. So if I do a row of lace here at about the 10-inch mark, maybe I only have to do 2 inches because then we're going to have this on the bottom as well. Okay, so it's mostly like this. So it's showing this, and then we'll have this on the bottom as well, just because I like that. Although it does have this, and then this, and then what if we use a smaller layer on top? That'll give us our 3 layers of lace. It's not really lace. It also looks like the white gauzy material, which is like this. But again, I don't have that. I have plain white material, but it's cotton and it's not like crinkly. Okay, I think that's how I'm gonna do it. I'm going to do about 7 inches of the tan material. We'll have a little bit of the crochet, and then 3 layers of lace that I will stitch onto the crochet. I think that's what's gonna give it to us. I think that's what we're gonna do. All right, I am going to get started with the tan after I cut off 18 inches of the leg from the pants. Okay, I cut off the 18 inches, so they now are like little shorts. So this is hard to measure because it's uneven, which is what we want. So like at one point it's like 15.5 inches. At another point it's like 12. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take my rotary cutter. I'm just going to cut this in half. Or maybe I don't do my rotary cutter. Maybe I just cut in a random like swooping pattern. And if that's not a good idea, well, it's too late now, isn't it? So, because it's uneven, and oh my God, this is so hard for me to do this. Okay, so now we have our piece that we want. I'm not sure if I'll have to use both of these. We'll have to see how wide this is. Let's put this on the front. And we don't want this part to flare out just yet. So I don't want to have to, I just want to sew this straight on. It's the bottom part that is going to flare out. So I'm going to I'm going to pin this on as best as I can. And then we'll see how it goes from there. I think I'm going to wait on that because there are like doilies and flowers that are up in this area. So I think I'm going to start with that because once I get the legs on, it's going to be a lot of material to deal with. So now I'm going to embellish the top of this before I start stitching the legs on, because it will be easier to deal with. So that's going to be my next step. Okay, one problem I am running into is in the picture, you will see that there are a number of small little pink and white doilies with roses on them. Of course, I don't have those. I do have some pink roses here that I purchased. Plus I have the ones on the tunic that I just purchased. But what I'm thinking, so this is the only little tiny one that I have. And that one will probably get a flower of some sort in the center. So what I'm thinking about doing is I have, here we go. I have this pink eyelet material. So what I'm thinking about doing is like making my own. So I'll do like a pink little circle about the size of this. I'll find something to trace. And I have like this pink lace. It's not gathered, but I'm wondering, oh no, it's not pink. It's white. Just kidding.
Never mind.
I guess I could dye some of my lace, find some cotton lace pieces and dye them like a darker pink and stitch this around and make my own little doily piece. I have this big square one here, which there is no square one. Again, trying to use what I have. I don't have any that are already pink or have colors on them. Okay, so this is one flower. So maybe if I kind of like put this at a little bit of an angle, maybe. I also have this table runner that I purchased, and it has these beautiful roses and little daisies that I can cut out, and they are solid if I cut around just the flower, maybe one leaf, and I can add those because it's too big for that. So I am probably going to have to make my own little doilies and play around with that. So there's going to be some dyeing involved, I'm sure, because everything I have is too big. I've got some pre-work that I need to do on some of this. Okay, here is my pre-work that I did. So I took white eyelet material, stitched this pink, dusty pink lace on it, and it was curling up and wouldn't lay flat, so I just kind of put some little slits in it, ironed it flat. I cut out a pink rose from a tablecloth and stitched it around on the eyelet. Over here, this is a small doily, and I took one of the flowers from this embroidered table runner, cut it out, stitched it on as an applique. Same thing here as I did on the other one, but I cut out a different flower. And then over here, I wanted to use this square doily just because I liked it, and to just give a little symmetry. I used an embroidered rose from this same table runner, put it on the square doily, and did it in a diamond shape. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch these on. I will probably do this one in a couple different areas, probably inside as well as outside. These two, because they're on the pocket, might be a little tricky. I have this one on the inside of the pocket. I think this one's on the inside of the pocket as well. So I will have to stitch on the inside of the pocket. If I stitch all the way through, there will be no pocket. And you know we gotta have our pockets, right? So I'm going to go ahead and stitch these on, and this is pretty much as close as I can come to the picture. The doily appliques have been stitched on. I did use some fusible webbing underneath of them. That is my #1 trick. I'm not going to repeat it. If you know, you know. If not, then go back and watch some of my videos, because I swear by fusible webbing. So this one got a whole square. I stitched in the pink to give it some contrast around the edge of the doily, and then I stitched again around the flower just to hold that in the center. On this one, I zigzag stitched just around the inside, because then this will kind of roll and give some dimension later. Now the ones on the pockets, I could not get in here with my machine, so I ended up hand stitching those. And I just used the same pink thread all the way around to give some contrast. Now we are going to move on to the bottom. So that is what those look like so far. The next step, which is this gauzy material, it's going to cause a little bit of a problem because it's cut unevenly. So I'm going to pin this on the best that I can and go from there. Okay, there it is. It's pinned on. I'm just going to, do I want to straight stitch this way? So now I'm going to stitch on the gauzy material. There we go. Okay, this is the tricky part where I've been stumped for a few minutes. In the picture, technically, the legs have been widened in the inseam area, and I did not do that. Didn't think I needed to. Maybe I'm gonna have to. So I have that stitched on, and of course this is all uneven. I've worked with this stuff before. This is a really, really loose weave. So I think my best bet for the most stability is to cut my piece across this way, because that's going to give me more of an area to stitch on to this lower piece. Or what I might have to do is turn this inside out, cut a little extra, and stitch it onto that. But now I need to figure out if I'm going to widen the inside of the leg. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4 circles across. That will give me some extra to kind of bunch up and bell out. I don't know. This is the really tricky part because this stuff is kind of hard to work with. So I'm still contemplating on what I need to do. I'm now almost going to ditch my lace that I planned on using because it's not the same. So I don't know. I think I need to walk away for a minute and figure out how to do this. Okay, so I have decided I'm going to rip this off and widen the legs. I have the scrap pieces that I can put in. Pretty sure I'm just going to do a raw edge because that's what's in the photo. I don't have much room here, but it'll just come to a point and then widen out. I'm going to take this off first, widen the legs, and go from there.
A few moments later.
Okay, we kind of went backwards a little bit. Had to redirect, recalculate. I removed the gauzy material. I took the pant legs that I cut off, cut the bottom off, cut them up the side, and I made 2 panels and stitched them into the middle. Now, I did sew them with a raw edge because that's what's in the picture. And they're like very triangle-y. That's a word. So I am going to kind of straighten them out just a little bit. Like I want a flare, but not that much of a flare. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Just a second. Okay. So I think I'm going to start right about here and just come kind of straight down. So just kind of make them flare out, but not so much of a flare. That makes sense. I've been at this all day, off and on. I've mostly been sitting here just in frustration. I was doing fine until I got to the bottom. And the bottom is just really throwing me off. I think it's my perfectionist tendencies. Like it has to be perfect. It has to look exactly like the picture. Because the last time that I tried to do an AI skirt, it did not even remotely come close to looking like the skirt in the picture. So I feel that was a failure. I just tried to like do what I thought would be a simple denim belt, and that was pretty much a failure. So yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my mojo right now. I'm trying to do better, and I can't seem to do it. It's like every time I try to like up my game and do better, I do nothing but fail and completely mess everything up. And that's pretty much what I've done with this. I shouldn't have cut them off so short, but you know, thought I knew what I was doing. Apparently not. But I'm going to continue on, and it's just going to be what it is. I think the other mental block that I'm having is because the bottom leg part is just crooked and haphazard, and I can't work with crooked and haphazard because that's the perfectionist in me. I can't just Frankenstein stuff together and hope that it works or that it looks good or that it stays together. Like, I want to make sure that my stuff stays together. And shout out to those of you that Frankenstein stuff together. You just cut random pieces of stuff and you fit it together and it works and it looks great. Kudos to you. I can't do that. I've had this discussion with somebody. I said, I can't do Frankenstein. I can't just take crooked things and put them together. And, oh, no, try it. It's very freeing. No, it's not freeing. It's very stressful to me. It's very stressful to me in my mentality because I can't. So I sewed the brown piece back on. The insert that I put on the inseam is probably too long. I'll probably have to cut that off, but I'm not going to cut that until I'm really good and ready and for sure that that's what I need to do. So at this point, let me show you what I've done. So I laid out the tablecloth. The width of the pant leg now is 13 inches. So I want it, I think, I want it 1.5 times. So I took 13, multiplied it by 3, because it needs to go all the way around and then maybe have a little bit extra. I cut it in the center, so that way hopefully that'll give me a lot of stability to stitch that onto the brown piece. So now I'm going to try to pin it on and see what it looks like, and then I'll be back.
The next day.
Okay, I have refocused, and at this point, trying to figure out how to get this crochet stuff on the bottom of something that's uneven. I also have, let me bring this down. So I have this crochet piece, which will be the legs. Trying to figure out the length. I have this panel that I inserted. I think I need to kind of cut this at an angle because I think it would be much easier to cut this off instead of trying to sew this onto here and onto here and have this extended. So I'm going to make the executive decision given the circumstances, and I'm going to cut that off. Okay, it's done. I believe the length is, I mean, I want to keep this scalloped edge, but I don't know, because when I lay this down and I lay this kind of like up here, my length 28 inches. Okay, so that's good. That's what I want. I think I did trim like another 1.5 inches off of the top. So I've really been like kind of messing around in here a lot, trying to figure this out. Just sewing stuff that is crooked. So hard, so very hard. So my next step, so I did get this sewn together. I'm going to put this on the inside. And I know this is a little big, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough. But I think it'll be wide enough. It's just going to have to be, because again, we're dealing with AI. It doesn't exist. It's unmakeable pretty much, but I'm trying to make it as much as I can. Let's get this on. This is my big hump, is this right here. Okay, I got the bottom leg put on again, and it looks straighter than it was. So I'm just going to go with it, and then I have to do it again. So that's going to be fun. Okay, one leg on, and I followed the brown material. So if I flip this over for you to see, so that's the area that I followed, because I had a lot of extra material because one piece was crooked and one piece was not. So now what I'm going to do, I did a zigzag stitch all the way around. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut just like 1/2 inch above that sewing line, so we don't have all this extra material. Okay, so that's what the inside looks like now. So like I said, I went a little bit closer around the edge, so it's not so much. Now let's turn it right side out and see what it looks like. I mean, honestly, that's about the best that it's gonna get. So there we go. I had to do a couple little tucks here in the front, so no biggie, but there we go. There is one leg completed. I have my second piece. I just need to stitch it together, pin it into place, and do this step all over. And also I did use brown in my bobbin because I stitched with this on top. So I put brown on the bottom and white on as my thread, so that this would come out brown and match what I had already put. So, all right, phase, I don't know, 27, I think that's where we are. multiple phases to this project. Okay, I have finally completed both legs. This was quite the challenge. I tore a couple, or cut a couple strips of fabric and just kind of put the ties on just to give a little detail up on the top. Here is the legs finished. That is the back. Now I guess I'm trying to decide, do I really want to put anything else on the bottom or just kind of leave them as they are? I guess it's a is it close enough kind of thing. Oh, and an oopsie that I did. When I stitched on the bottom of the other leg, I forgot to change my thread. So I have brown thread and then I have white thread. Am I gonna tear it out and do it again? No. Could I just maybe sew over top of it? Possibly. I think I might give that a try. Just to kind of see if it'll cover it up a little bit and help it match. But yeah, I think that is pretty much it, because I don't want to try to fuss with adding all the ruffles, the extra ruffles on the bottom. Nobody knows how these are supposed to look. So I think whoever sees these or might want these will be perfectly happy with what they are. I'm not going to add anything on the back because that's just going to be a whole lot more stuff that I have to deal with. And as much as I struggled with this project, I think I'm gonna call these finished. So that way I can just move on to the next thing. On another note, move your butt. If you saw the last video about the belt, I ended up gluing in that little spot right here. I put a little piece of denim and then glued them down and then put a clamp on them. So they are good to go. And so this is the finished belt. Like I said, if I plan on adding anything else, I don't know yet. All right, folks. I think that's just going to be the close for the day, because now I have 2 videos that I need to edit, and I've probably missed my earlier in the week time that I should have posted something. But hey, that's what happens when you run into frustrations and roadblocks and learning experiences and all the other things that go with doing this. Okay, so as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with my frustrations. Thank you for understanding that this is not something you just say, oh, I'm just gonna upcycle stuff. And you see something, or you have something in your mind and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna make that thing. And it usually doesn't work out. So it happens. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and now hype. My creations and other items can be found on my Depop, and that is linked down below. It is also depop.com/runitbackrack. You can find me on all social media platforms under the same name, Instagram, TikTok, and of course here on YouTube. And as always, love, peace, and thrift, and we'll catch you on the flip side.